Welcome everyone. We're at the last Mon in Johto. Last usable Mon, that is. So, Celebi. First things first, no Grass Fairy. Grass Fairy typing fits pretty well. Yes, it's a haha Onion Fairy. However, we have like 6 or 7 grass. Let me check how exactly how many Grass Fairies in my notes we have. We have a bunch of them. And there's only one other Grass Psychic type, which is Executor. So it's just a lot better variety. Not to mention that Celebi's whole thing is time travel, and like it uses its psychic powers to time travel and travel between time periods and stuff. So I like Grass Psychic on it more. It's also not Grass Fairy isn't as good of a type combo anymore because Grass Fairy is now weak to Bug. So it's not like Grass Psychic is that bad. Not to mention you have a lot of good resistances with Grass Psychic, and you have incredible abilities, which I'll get into in a second. I just want to list the other Grass Fairies real quick. Yeah, there's 4 or maybe 5 other Grass Fairies, while there is only one other Grass Psychic. So that's the reason for that. I know people like Grass Psychic, Grass Fairy. I enjoy it as well. It makes a lot of sense. But in this case, we get double surges, and it's awesome. Also, another thing I need to address quickly, not quickly, but pretty in depth actually, is the fact that Mew was the only exception for the Pixie Legendaries stats. All of the other Pixie Legendaries are going to have rework stats similar to this, where they have a lot less HP, defense, and attack. Besides like Victini, which actually makes relative sense to be physical. But the other ones are all going to be like, you know, similar stat spreads. Not exactly. I mean, some of them will be faster, some of them will have more special attack, less special defense, that kind of deal. But the point is that their base stat total will be lower, and they will have less HP, attack, and defense. However, Celebi is not quote-unquote nerfed in this case, purely because, well, even, okay, from a base stat point of, I stuttered too much. From a base stat total point of view, it's not even nerfed, because if you ignore the fact that I dropped its attack, if you ignore the fact that it can't be physical anymore, then it actually has a 610 base stat total. Say I put the 60 attack back to 100, which is what it was. It's a 610 base stat total. So not only was its base stat total technically buffed in that regard, but it's also got way better stat distribution now. You know, being extremely tanky, especially being very strong and having slightly better speed in exchange for being physically frail, which fits given Celebi's design. The main reason I did it is because looking at this thing, I understand that, like, I made an exception for Mew because Mew has like the DNA of all Pokemon, and it's fucking Mew. So I think Mew should have stayed as 100 everything, equal Mon, you know, very versatile, learns every TM, tons of moves. But the rest of the Pixie Legendaries don't have any reason to be 100 all around. That's just a stupid tradition that Game Freak has kept ever since Mew. I don't know why they did. It's always bothered me. I think it's stupid. And this is a lot cooler and a lot better for it. So, yeah. So not only is it not actually nerfed base stat total wise, but even if it was, people tend to fixate on the base stat total instead of the actual stats and abilities. And in this case, as opposed to Natural Cure, which is a good ability in competitive, especially because status can be very debilitating in competitive. Like, I'm not trying to say Natural Cure is bad. Even in game, it's okay, but in game, it's not great in game. It's better in competitive with 6v6, where you're constantly switching around, and where a status can be death, versus in game, you can just slap a berry on your Pokemon, and you know it's like Draft League in that sense, where like you can prepare your sets beforehand, so status isn't really as big a deal. Versus in 6v6 competitive, or even, you know, 4v4 or whatever, like Natural Cure is a much better ability. But regardless, yeah, Grassy Surge, Psychic Surge are incredible. Okay, those make Celebi with base 125 special attack. The reason I chose these stats, slightly faster just to fit the overall speed creep in, because I added extra stat points. And just to be a better offensive Mon, you know, 105 base speed. You can always check where that lines up with other Pokemon in the description below. In the speed tier guide, you can also check out all of the move buffs and changes, which there are a lot of them in the description below as well. So yeah, 105 base speed, 125 base special attack with Grassy and Psychic Surge is incredible. These abilities are so fitting for Celebi. If you read the dex entries, I mean, again, good special attack very, very much fits a Pokemon that can travel through time, a legendary Pokemon at that. And then if you read these dex entries, it talks about, again, traveling through time is the exact perfect reasoning for Psychic Surge, and then the other things talking about how grass and trees flourish in the forest, which it has appeared, it really just screams Psychic Surge. So it's really, really cool that both of these abilities. And again, also in this hack, you have access to infinite usability capsules. So you should and will be switching between Grassy and Psychic Surge, because each one boosts one of your stabs by a massive 50%. You know, that's a huge boost to your special attack stat. You become incredibly powerful with 125 special attack and Grassy or Psychic Surge and your powerful stab options. You also have a lot of great coverage moves. So they already had weird moves like Shockwave, Thunder Wave, and Charge Beam, so I figured why not throw Thunderbolt and Thunder on there as well. They also have Earth Power, Aura Sphere, Psychic, Psychic is not coverage, but Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Focus Blast, you know, tons of awesome coverage. Water Pulse, even if you really wanted to hit something that was 4 times weak to water or something for a specific fight, you know, you can always run that. It had it before, so I figured why not just leave it there. And then if you need like a fire move, you can always run Nature Power or Weather Ball. Same with like White or Ice type Weather Ball or something, you know, it's always great. I opted not to give them Mystical Fire. I felt like it was kind of weird. It would have been fine. Like, I could have totally thrown it on there, but I don't know. It doesn't need it. But yeah, Nasty Plot or Calm Mind is incredibly powerful with tons of great coverage. I mean, Grass Psychic Dual Stab is pretty solid with Grassy Surge or Psychic Surge, but then you have Earth Power to hit Steels and Thunderbolt to hit a lot of things, and, you know, Flying type and Aura Spheres hit Steels and all. It's really great, okay? Tons of amazing coverage there. Great utility. Again, setup, Calm Mind, Nasty Plot. You also have Barrier, which is awesome, and Cosmic Power. Barrier is a little bit better than Cosmic Power, in my opinion, because you already have a very high speed F stat. You would rather patch up that 70 base defense with Barrier. So you can use like Barrier, Calm Mind, Strength Sap, plus Stored Power with Psychic Surge. That would be incredible. And the beautiful thing about your abilities is that, so for example, Psychic Surge, right? Psychic Surge prevents priority. So that could be both a detriment or a great benefit to your team. So for example, if you want to run a Pokemon that relies on priority or that is using priority for that fight, Psychic Surge can fuck up your team composition. That's why you might want to run Grassy Surge. Even if Psychic Stab would be better for that fight, you might not want to be able to give up that priority. For example, First Impression, Sucker Punch, all kind. I mean, I've made, if you're new here, I've made dozens and dozens of new priority moves. Basically, every Pokemon has at least one priority move that's Stab. There's at least one priority move for every single type that's widespread. Typically two. Not every type has two though. Psychic. Actually, no, Psychic has two now. The only types that don't have one on each physical and special, I think the only type that doesn't have a physical and special priority move is Ground, because Bone Rush is only on Marowak and like maybe one other Pokemon. So even then, you could argue that I still have one for Ground, but it's not widespread. This is irrelevant, okay? But the point is, it's got a great ability in being able to be immune to priority. So for example, First Impression, you're 4 times weak to Bug. All kinds of offensive Pokemon have First Impression. Now, basically every like physical attacker in the game has First Impression for the most part, obviously with some exceptions. Which would be really bad for Celebi, you know, a widespread priority move. For example, if a trainer's using a Celebi, you can just slap First Impression on your Pokemon and fucking one-shot it with ease, with anything. Even with zero attack investment, you could probably one-shot it. But because of Psychic Surge, you literally just can't do that unless you override the terrain or stall it out. So if they're running Psychic Surge, you can't hit them with Sucker Punch, you can't hit them with First Impression, you can't hit them with Creeping Strike, you can't hit them with Silver Gale, you can't hit them with Night Burst, you can't hit them with Spook or Shadow Sneak or any other priority move, or Ignite, or Frost Flurry, or Ice Shard, or Pyro Dash, or all other moves, Sludge Shot, Poison Dart, Gust, Aerial Ace. You know, it's completely immune to all those moves. With Psychic Surge up, of course. And that's great. That's a great asset for it. Psychic Surge is also great for team support because it can also boost your other Psychic type moves. You can run, your other Psychic type teammates or Psychic type moves. You can run Nature Power on your allies to get Psychic boosted, Psychic turn boosted Psychic with Nature Power if they don't have access to Psychic normally. You can do the same with Grassy Surge and Energy Ball on your teammates, which is even better coverage than a lot of Pokemon that get Nature Power. You know, it's great, all right? You can really support your teammates. Another thing is that Grassy Surge... So here's one thing. Celebi is an exception to the Levitate rule. In this hack, I've been giving Levitate to Pokemon that are just constantly flying in their animations, for the most part. But I'm making an exception for Celebi purely because, number one, it already... 3 reasons, okay? Number 1, it already resists ground. Number 2, Grassy Surge halves Earthquake's damage anyways. Number 3, I really just wanted to give it both Psychic Surge and Grassy Surge because I think both fit really good, and I could not for the life of me pick between the two. So I was like, all right, let's have an exception. Yes, you can hit it with Earthquake, but it does resist it, and Grassy Surge halves the damage of it. And then as for special moves, you know, also there's tons of other physical ground moves. Don't get me wrong, like Levitate would be really nice because like stuff like Drill Run and Megaton Kick and Precipice Blades will hit you pretty hard, despite being resisted because of your middling physical bulk and HP. Poor HP and middling physical bulk, but that's just balancing. It is very fast and very strong. Really fun to use. Tons of great utility. Again, I covered the setup stuff. You can also do stuff like Charm, Sweet Scent. Those are good stat dropping moves now. I opted not to keep Recover on it because I didn't have the room. It has Synthesis via TM and Synthesis Tutor, excuse me, and all healing moves besides a couple have 5 PP now. Strength Sap is incredible. That is 3 PP, of course, but that's a great setup move for like healing and stuff. Grass Whistle is really cool. That's 80% accurate and will always last 2 turns. However, if you outspeed, that's only 1 turn of free setup. So say, for example, you're a Celebi fighting, I'm scrolling up, T-Tar. All right, you outspeed T-Tar naturally, you Grass Whistle it, you land it, it goes to sleep. You can also run Wild Lens to boost that accuracy up. 80 times 1.15 is what? 92, so you get 92% accurate Grass Whistle, which is cool. And then you can run Calm Mind and click that twice, and you'll be able to take special moves really nicely. Or you can run Nasty Plot once and then just one-shot it. You know, this is just an example, but anything you outspeed is good with Grass Whistle. And then if you're slower, you can just you'll be taking a hit, but you'll actually be getting 2 turns of setup. So that's awesome. I did consider Regenerator, but there's tons of other regen grass types. It's not. I mean, there's also other grassy surge grass types, but I wanted both surges. And if I had done like regen psychic surge, it's just not that great of a combo. Regen is not that great because it has great special defense, but its physical defense is not that good, and its HP is poor, so it would be kind of a waste of an ability slot. Not that it's a bad ability. I mean, regen's awesome, guys. I'm not trying to undersell regen, but I really like the double surges. I think it's super fucking clean looking. So that, and they both fit so perfectly for Celebi. So yeah, that's really about it. I mean, you can use Baton Pass. A stored power is incredibly buffed. That gives you +1 special attack each time you use it. It has 3 PP. You can Baton Pass boosts, which is why I let it keep Swords Dance. You want to Baton Pass that. Although Baton Pass is negative priority, so it is a lot harder to speed pass and that kind of thing. But that's just balancing. Otherwise, Baton Pass would be really overpowered in this hack. It's still very strong, so because AI is not good. So if you can like bypass taunt or, you know, just kill the taunt user, then then you can switch that up most likely against a couple things. Easier said than done. The hack is going to be hard, but yeah, if you are strategic, you can definitely get past a lot of things. Yeah, great strong stab. Psycho Boost, Leaf Storm, Seed Flare, Subspace Tear, Chloroblast, Side Stroke. You can see what all those moves do in the description below. You can check out that move guide. I'm not going to list them all, but they're all over 120 base power, and they have their own unique drawbacks. Yeah, I think that's really about it. It's a really short one, but it's just very self-explanatory once I get past the Pixie stats and the reasoning for that. I hope that doesn't bother too many people, but that's just what it's going to be. So for all the other Pixies, it'll be the same deal. I mean, I'll still be like generous with some of them. I mean, if I really wanted to be like literal, I could give them fucking 50 HP because they're tiny as hell and 30 attack because they're little babies. But of course, that's a bit excessive. 570 base total is for the most part the minimum for legendaries. The most part, not always. There will be, I think, maybe 1 or 2 that are lower because of other reasons, but we'll get to those when we get to them. They'll be very interesting. So, yeah, that's about it. I think I covered everything. So thank you so much for listening. There's a couple other niche things I could cover, like Parasong is good for totems. Yeah, that's about it. You got other great utility list, rocks, and all this other decent stuff that you can use to like get past certain things in trainer fights. But yeah, Trick Room, that's priority, so it's pretty cool. You're not gonna abuse a Trick Room yourself, but you can use Trick Room plus like eject button on any Pokemon that gets Trick Room, and just get that Trick Room up, take that hit. They'll eject button you out, and then eject button is now infinite use, so that's a good buff for it. And then you'll just be switching right into your Trick Room abuser. So that's a cool thing that Trick Room level up Pokemon can get, which is why I made it a TM, because of how powerful eject button is on it. But I removed it from being a TM, then excuse me. I think I covered everything, so I'm going to leave it off there. That concludes Johto for the most part. There won't be videos for Ho-Oh Lugia because they're unusable, but you can definitely read up on what I did for them and the little sheet. I'll put a little bit of a text blob there for you to read if you're interested in that. Yeah, super great changes for Celebi. I really like the way it turned out. I hope you do as well. If you did like this kind of video, if you're new here, make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. That'd be very helpful for me. And also, if you listen this far in, you should probably be subscribed. You clearly, enjoy the content, I would hope, if you listen this far. Otherwise, I don't know why you're listening this far. Man, I need to shut up sometimes. That's about it, really. You can join my Discord server. You can play my older hack in there called Baron Black. You can talk to other people in there. It's growing a lot actually recently, so you could totally join in there and talk to me and other people. Yeah, that concludes Johto. So thank you so much for listening. Bye, everyone.